Welcome back to AI War 2, continuing our look at the upcoming Neinzul Abyss expansion. This session is going to be all about the 5 new factions that come with the DLC. We did look last time at Templar with the Necromancer, and they are Necromancer only, but there's another faction, the Elderlings, that can actually switch hit. They're not as critical to a Human Empire game, but they definitely still fill a role. So they're going to continue to use the same basic ideas. They're going to hatch from eggs. They're going to move around to a specific section of the galaxy. And if you destroy them, they're going to give you resources. But it's not essence in this case. They're going to give you metal if it's still in egg form, or they're going to give you science if it has hatched. So I would say they fill a niche somewhere between Astro Trains and Devour Golems, in that they can inject some chaos into the galaxy, but you can also farm them for resources. Now, on the hacking side, the only one that's available to us here is tracking Elderling territory. The other hacks, not really relevant if you don't have Necromancer in the game. There is one additional feature I want to look at on the Elderlings, though, and that is sort of their release valve for longer games of a bunch of Elderlings build up in the galaxy. They have a sanity aspect. So you can see this Elderling has 800 sanity remaining. Now, they only lose sanity if they are on a planet with too many other Elderlings. And so if it gets really clogged up, then that will gradually get reduced. Some of them will start going insane, and then they will just randomly attack, they'll rampage, and eventually they're going to kill themselves off because something's going to knock them out. And then you'll sort of reach an equilibrium of the total amount of Elderlings in the galaxy at a certain point. The other 4 factions are all of the Neinzul race. We're going to look first at the Neinzul Wild Hives, and they are sort of an independent free agent, an infestation, a environmental hazard in the galaxy. They're not really interested in allying with or defeating ourselves or the AI or any other faction. But what they are interested in doing is capturing our resources. Unlike the Zenith Architrave that want territory, they want our metal harvesters. So they will go around going into various planets, gradually building up these Neinzul hives, which, along with taking control of the metal, these also have a negative effect on our ships. You can see planetary attack inhibitor, so we're down to 94% on that, and down to 94% on the speed, and these stack with each other. So you get a bunch of these different hives in a system, and all of a sudden our military is not going to function very well at all, compared to what we're used to in any case. If we just let this go, we can see they've got these workers as well that are going to fly about and do various things and gradually try to build up what they have, and they're leaving us alone. But if we attack them, that changes quickly. Viewer beware, if you have more than one Wild Hives faction, it's quite a bit more dangerous because they'll compete with each other for resources, and you can find yourself getting caught in the crossfire. You see, these have a lot of health in the millions, but all of a sudden, boom, everybody's coming out. They're displeased with us, and we've got ourselves a big fight going on. And this is not a particularly bad infestation. If you're dealing with a bad infestation, well, then you've got a serious issue. On the other hand, if you just let them go about and build up as they choose, then you're going to have a hard time doing effective combat in this system or gaining the resources for yourself from it. So particularly if you're playing at a standard Human Empire, you're really going to want to try to prevent them from taking over key systems at least, and allow yourself pathways through the galaxy where big fights or planets you want to capture are not Wild Hive territory. We also have Neinzul Custodians. That's these guys right around here. And there's some unique things to how they work in the galaxy. Only one Neinzul Custodian faction is allowed because when you have them come into a galaxy, there's a group that's going to be allied to you, but there's also going to be a group that's allied to the AI. So you're going to be fighting with them and also against them. And they are going to build up a variety of hives in your systems, and they're going to help you on the attack, help you defend your systems, but they're very willing to retreat if a battle's not going well. They have a high sense of self-preservation unless you adjust what their logic is in the lobby when you set up your game. Another interesting aspect to them is that their big ships here, the roaming enclaves, are bonded, or their life force is connected, or however you want to think of that, with a specific hive. And if the hive goes down, or the enclave goes down, then the other one of that pairing also goes. So the enclave dies, the hive that it's associated with is also going to be no more. And then the hives will also gradually produce smaller ships. They've got younglings and clanlings, so they aren't just about the big ones. Now, early on in the game, quite helpful. Those who have more experience with them than myself have noted that late in the game, they can really be a royal pain in the butt, because you've got to raid their hives, or they're just a constant thorn in your side, as the AI version causes you issues trying to break through to the AI homeworld. So that's something to keep in mind. They're probably going to be a fairly high maintenance faction if you add them to your game. Then we have the Neinzul Sappers, who generally speaking will go around and build turrets to assist whatever faction they're allied to. That can be a minor faction team, can be the AI, can be the player. You can have multiple versions of the Sappers in a game if you wish. But if you've ever played the Civilian Industries mod, this is sort of similar to a more simplified version of that. So as we can look out at, for example, hop into Rabbit here, they've already built a few turrets over in this direction, and there's no real drawback to them. They're just going to be a benefit to whatever faction you have them allied to, and you can use them to balance out a game. Or if you're playing Necromancer and you don't like the idea of trying to defend your planets, then having Sappers would possibly be a way that you could just say, we're going to add a little bit more to that so I don't have to worry about that as much. So I think those two really synergize well for some types of playstyles. Last but not least, we have the Neinzul Migrant Fleets. And I'm only going to show the first couple bits here. I don't want to spoil too much for those who want to experience it on their own. This is an escort quest, story-driven type of faction. And by the way, where all that information comes to you is we've got the campaign journal entries. There's a couple here, story ones on the migrants, but we also have, for the other factions we already looked at, Neinzul Hives and the Necromancer and all of that Sappers. Information here, all in those. Tips are more for the mechanics side. So lots of documentation in the game on all these factions once you get into the expansion and start messing around with them. But we're protecting these. You can see the indicator there, 2 migrants. We had to go eliminate enemies or they would have been destroyed. And now they're coming back to our territory. And they didn't spawn too far away, this being the first entry. And then we have, it's telling us there are wormholes that are opening up on 3 different planets. So now, obviously, we've got a bigger issue to deal with. Let's see where some of those are at. So in here we can see that these wormholes, they're going to move around the planet. They're invulnerable, they're spawning these younglings. But it tells us that, okay, we detect a far larger warp signature incoming. So the idea is we'd want to come out to at least one of these planets, and if we could, all 3 of the ones where the wormholes are, and clear them out and be ready for whatever the migrant fleet is going to arrive with next. And through this process of escorting their various ships that want to come into the galaxy back to our territory and getting them safety, we are also then going to benefit with some ships over time that they will gradually give us to assist. And again, I'm being general on purpose so that I'm not spoiling too much of it and people can experience it on their own. So that is our 4 new factions that we're going to be seeing of the Neinzul plus the Elderlings. And as we proceed then looking at this expansion, I'll be getting into some of the other features, some of the new toys for the AI and the player in more conventional types of games. Thanks for watching. Be back soon.